Now the teams at the MAKS Aviation and Space Show have finished their aerobatic displays near Moscow. Well, we've been following it all week with live updates from the site. Multi-million-dollar deals have been done and nearly 500,000 people have attended the show. But for the tens of thousands of spectators, it was the amazing aerial performances which have really been the highlight. And RT's Katerina Azarova was there amongst them all, and she now joins me live. Katerina, I know you've been there for a couple of days now, but today was the final of this week-long air show, which has at last come to an end. So can you just remind us of some of the highlights now?
Indeed, Alice, a week after the MAKS 2009 started, it is finally over. The deals are done, the public is leaving, and the pilot crews have also gone to get their much-deserved rest because everyone here who was involved in this show has worked really hard, both on the ground and up in the air, to provide a fantastic show, a spectacle, if you wish, of airmen, of sportsmanship, of great pilot skills, of some savvy business negotiations, and the deals were in fact very worthwhile. MAKS 2009 provided deals worth up to $10 billion US. That's 3 times more than the MAKS 2007, which was the previous air and space show. As for the people, over 500,000 people, 580,000 visited this event over this past week, with the most clocking in on Saturday. Today, tens of thousands also flocked to Zhukovsky Airfield, despite the fact that the weather is still pretty miserable, not at all summery, and the clouds were gray and overcast, therefore damaging the displays somewhat, but still a lot to see for all of the spectators on the ground. The show opened with a display by the Russian-produced BE-200, which is an amphibian plane, a unique plane in its own right. It's mostly used by the Russian Emergencies Ministry to put out plane fires and basically assist in emergency rescue situations. That was always a crowd pleaser throughout the entire week. Later, of course, some of the biggest crowd hits were the flybys by the Russian passenger plane Sukhoi Superjet 100. It was accompanied by 2 Russian Su fighter jets and 2 Russian MiG fighter jets, all of those performing some very fun maneuvers up in the sky. But everyone here, of course, enjoying all of the displays, despite the fact the weather was pretty poor. The organizers of the event say that they're happy with the way it turned out and that they hope to provide the next MAKS Air Show, which will be in 2011, with even more oomph, so to speak, make it even more appealing to both the public and the potential customers. Let's have a listen.
I'm really pleased with this show, and you can see all the action very well. I wish the weather was better, but that's out of our control. I think in 2 years you'll see an even more spectacular show.
The thing I've liked the most is the flags made up of smoke. The Italian with red, white and green, and the French with red, white and blue. It's very pretty.
Now, the Italian, of course, is the Frecce Tricolore, or the tricolor arrows, the Italian Air Force aerobatics team, which stunned the crowds at this year's MAKS. And certainly they have every right to call themselves spectacular. They are the only team in the world that is made up of 10 planes. That is the largest number of planes in an aerobatic group. They have 9 planes flying together and 1 man performing solo stunts, which have taken the crowd's breath away, despite the fact that it's pretty foggy and gray, and the Frecce Tricolore were prevented from doing some of their more high-end stunts. They still managed to please the crowds with their old-time favorites, like painting the sky with the colors of the Italian flag, which are, of course, red, green, and white. But as well as displays from foreign groups such as the Frecce Tricolore and the Patrol de France, the French aerobatics team, Russian teams also took to the skies. The Russian Swifts and the Russian Knights both made an appearance on this last day of the MAKS. The Russian Swifts wowing the crowds with their aerobatic stunts and changes in formation. But of course, it was the Russian Knights that everyone was waiting to see. They had a tragedy happen amongst them just before the MAKS 2009 started. One of their commanders died tragically in a plane crash whilst trying to manipulate the plane navigated away from a residential area. Unfortunately, the man died in the crash, and the Russian Knights pulled out of the MAKS 2009, but they closed off this year's Air and Space Show with a 1-minute flyby in memory of their lost commander.
Very poignant end to what has been a fantastic MAKS 2009 by all accounts. Katerina Azarova, thank you very much.